So what we're going to be learning now is how to navigate inside the scene world. So to do this, it's pretty easy. So the first thing you need to know is you can actually use the scroll mouse button to zoom in and zoom out. That's pretty much the easiest way. And then if you want to orbit around, all you gotta do is to hold the Alt button on your keyboard, and then it'll switch to this eye icon, meaning you can use the left click and hold, and then drag around to orbit around and navigate the field. Now if you want to pan, just hold down the Alt button and then middle click. And you can continue using both to easily navigate around the world. Now if you want a detailed zoom, you can also hold Alt and right click and just drag up and down. This is actually what you need if you want a detailed zoom. Alright, so those are the basic controls. Now in the 3D world, you will be using all three of these very often, since it uses the 3D axis X, Y, and Z. But in 2D, you're just going to be using pan and zoom. That's basically all you need in 2D. Now, in order to switch to 2D mode, all you gotta do is to click here. Up here, the 2D button. See, now you're in 2D mode. So what you're going to be using most often is the zoom and pan. Now there are other options up here that I haven't explained in the previous video, but that's because we're not going to be using it for the meantime. But when we get to use stuff like lighting and audio, I'll go ahead and explain. Anyways, now if you want to focus on a certain game object in the map, for example, I'm currently looking at this, but I want to focus on this main camera over here. I can either click it here, or I can select it here in the hierarchy, and then all I gotta do is press F. Just like that. So go ahead and use this very often, both in 3D and 2D, if ever you're lost or anything. Like for example, if your camera is like really far away and you don't know where the object is, or if you can't see it, just click a object here in the hierarchy and then just press F. Now, let's go into the basic editing tools. So as you notice, if I've selected a 3D object, such as this cube, you see these arrows. So these arrows represent the 3D axis, which is X, Y, and Z. So basically what these are the dimensions inside the 3D world. Everything in the 3D world has a X, Y, and Z coordinates. Just remember that. However, if you're developing for 2D, or 2D game design, all you need is the X and Y axis. Anyways, so in order to, by default, you're either using the selection tool or the move tool. So if you select an object, by default, the move tool will appear. And the shortcut for this is W on your keyboard. You can also see it over here on the top left corner. Now next to that, to the left, is the hand tool or the pan tool, which has the shortcut of Q. And then while the object is selected, you can press E for rotate, and then rotate it just like that by clicking and hold and then drag the axis. And then you can press R for scale in order to scale the object the way you see fit. And then the last one is the rect tool, which is T, that's the shortcut. Now the rectangle tool, or the rect tool, is what it's formally called. This is usually used in 2D design only, like in UI design or in 2D grid. So you won't be using this too often in 3D mode. However, it's nobody's stopping you from using it anyway. It's totally fine. Now the last thing you need to know is differentiating from perspective mode and isometric mode. So currently we are in perspective mode. as you can see from the view. Now, in order to shift into isometric mode and vice versa, all you gotta do is to click here, which is persp. It's under the 3D axis tool, and now we are in isometric mode. So the difference between perspective mode and isometric mode is, in isometric mode you can see the object formally in 3D like this, but when you're in perspective mode, this is what you see based on the human eye. It's what gives it depth, basically. In ISO mode, you don't get any depth when you look towards this angle. And there you can see the depth over here. So that's the difference. And in the 3D axis tool up here, you can actually click any of the arrows in order to shift the type of view that you want to see from. You can use this as many times as you want. You can use this as many often as you want, as long as you're comfortable with using it. It's totally fine.